for women in the village outside. And throughout my time, just so confronted by my own weakness. Like, we had these security guards who rode motorcycles around to like alert us of different things or to give a message or something. But oftentimes when the motorcycle came around to our house, it was calling for me because someone was at the gate sick or injured, they had gotten into some accident or something. And I didn't want to go. I had such a bad attitude. Like the security guards knew too. They're like, someone's here, and I was like, okay, like interrupted from my own thing that I was doing, and I felt so inadequate because I didn't know how to be a nurse. So I was just, I just can't do it. But time after time, you know, sometimes it was still hard when I got to the clinic and saw the person, and I was like, I don't really know what to do. But there were many times where that was a place of deep encounter between me and this person, not on a, you know, not because I had great sage medical advice, but because I just went. I often felt like in that story of like Jesus tells the story of like the two sons, and he's like, which one did the Lord's will? The one who said he was going to do it and didn't, or the one who did it or said he wouldn't and did it? It's like always the one who kind of like said I wouldn't, but like when I went, the Lord met me there in my weakness and provided for me. With the women's group, the Bible study, I was so frustrated with them because they were so uncommitted to it. And I, you know, had my certain amount of time that I was planning on spending in Mohogoai, the village. Be like, they're not coming. I have to literally go to each of their houses and like gather them and be like, we're having Bible study like we do every week, you know, at this time at the church. So anyways, very frustrating experience and very aware of my impatience. You know, I'm like, some people that I would talk to, like, that's so beautiful that you go and you gather them in. I'm like, it's not beautiful. It's really annoying. So then I had this experience where we decided to do a consecration to Mary with our women's group by the suggestion of another missionary, because I was just expressing my like deep frustration. She's like, what if I have these books, you could do the 33 days, you know, consecration. So we decided to do it, and it was amazing, the transformation of just going. I decided also to like go to the women's house and have them prepare like a meal or a snack or something. And so it was going really well. And at the end we decided to go into the town, into the church, and have mass and like do our consecration, make kind of a thing of it. So I get this call from a woman who had not been coming to Bible study and who had not been doing the consecration. She says, oh, I hear you're going into the town to have dinner. And I was like, I played dumb because I was still like in frustration and, you know, like, you haven't been coming. So I was like, what? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, oh, Eric told me you're like going into Trujillo tonight. And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to mass because we're like finishing the consecration. But I mean, you didn't do it, so it wouldn't really make sense for you to like come celebrate with us. Anyway, so she's like, oh yeah, you're right. And then I felt horrible, and I'm like, but it's mass, like come, it'll be great. We're meeting at this place, whatever. She didn't come. So then, fast forward to the end of my time in Honduras, they had this celebration for us, and were honoring us as missionaries. And this woman told this story that we had this phone conversation, and I was like, wow, really would have been fine if you had just been like, thanks for coming, thanks for all your work. But she tells this like, you know, really low moment in my time as a missionary, and I'm like, oh, this is getting awkward. I'm feeling very warmer than I normally do. But then she gets to the end and she's like, yeah, so I hung up the phone and I realized I want to be there. I want to be part of this group. Why am I not going? Why am I not doing this? And she started to come, and I remembered, like, after that point, she started to come to the group, and she started to be very involved and host and make snacks for us, and like just so beautiful. So that was just kind of a micro event of like my whole experience as a missionary, and the Lord's coming into my deep weakness, woundedness, bitterness, and bringing forth his abundance. So kind of in the way that Pierre was talking about, that like he just comes sometimes, you know, like in the midst of our weakness, he just comes. So I guess what I want to leave you with is that yes, there's work to be done. We want to draw close to the Lord, but ultimately he loves us so deeply, and he wants to come to us, and he wants us to rest on his heart. He wants us to encounter his heart in adoration. So don't be discouraged, because sometimes when I think about poverty, simplicity, generosity, I get very discouraged. But it's the Lord's work in our life that's going to actually transform us. It's not our striving that's going to transform us. So.